Michael Simpson, and I work for ABB. In Asia, well, judging by the amount of activity we have in the region, it's still obviously a very interesting area. There's a lot going on. And I think as a territory, it survived the 2007-2008 downturn really quite well. Refining capacities stayed up, margins were maintained. And I think the position now is really quite balanced, looking through till about 2015. There was a lot of CDU capacity built in just around that time, actually. A lot of it came on stream. So you could say that that will counterbalance the situation, and it might produce some slackening of margins in the next 3-4 years. But at the same time as that, there are going to be some refinery closures. I mean, certainly in Japan there will be, and in China most likely. But for very different reasons, because in Japan there's just clear overcapacity. And so that's very similar situation to Europe and the USA, that some refinery rationalizations are bound to take place. In China it's different, because they will be pushing for significant increased capacity. And you might wonder, well, why do you close some refineries if you're doing that? But the ones that will close are the smaller, simpler, local, non-strategic refineries, and China will push all of its capacity build into world-scale refineries. So that's sort of one area. And then I suppose the other thing that's important in the region is that there's a significant shift in terms of refinery complexity. I mean, Asia already has a number of world-scale, world-class refineries, but that's a trend that's going to increase. And more of the refineries, especially the ones which are based on national oil companies, are really going to be pushing for export. So if you think of in India, Reliance, Essar, in Malaysia, Petronas, these are companies which are not just increasing their refining capacity and increasing their complexity, not just for the domestic market. They're going to be pushing hard for export markets. And I think that's where it gets interesting, because when you get round to about 2015, at that point, the big new Chinese capacity, and particularly the big new Middle East capacity, will come online. And so then I think this region is going to find itself in competition for export markets with those, not so much China, because that's more domestic, but the Middle East refineries are definitely pushing for an export product slate. And so that's the point at which life will get interesting here in another way. Yeah. Well, it is a very active region for us, and as I said, a lot of the developments here, the new refineries and the upgrading, they're oriented towards increasing refinery complexity and also flexibility, because if you're going to be working towards producing an export product slate, it's inevitable that you need more flexibility in the grades that you produce. And you've got to do it to tight export level qualities. So I think actually for us, because ABB is a company that specializes in process optimization, energy efficiency, environmental mitigation, these are all areas which are very important if you're trying to run refinery plants at the top level. And I think that's going to be an increasing trend in the region. And so it's an active region for us now, but I don't see that changing. I see it growing. I'm spending much more of my time here than I ever used to before. It's a very interesting question, because, I mean, lots of vendor companies manufacture products. But I think the thing that's special about ABB is that we really try to organize ourselves along an industry focus, not just a product or technology focus. So a lot of our people are dedicated to trying to understand the drivers and the needs of the industries we're involved in, not just the features and benefits of our products. And I think, I mean, it makes sense if you want to have a strategic evolution of your products. It makes sense to do that, you know, while you're developing them, rather than later when you're just trying to sell them. So I think that's probably our main differentiator, is an industry focus. Well, the first one I came to was last year, and both last year and this year. I'm just impressed by the energy of the region. It seems to be a very dynamic region with a lot of enthusiasm in the presentations about the activities that are going on. And sometimes that contrasts a little bit with Europe, and it's very nice to see that.